There's a gremlin on the side of the vehicle.
Yep. So these are like the two ends of the spectrum in cost, really. So essentially, this in my left hand is an ENVIS M703E. This is a Gen 3 night vision. The reason why it's on the lower cost section of it is the military was using these for aircraft. Essentially what they wanted was part of the survival kit for fighter and bombers and stuff like that. If they were to be shot down in enemy territory, that with their SEER training would allow them to help evade capture until they could get to safety. So, you know, they basically, these are, when you're talking military grade tubes and you have aviation versus something like this, you're going to have a lot more of the minor defects, little specks here and there. The resolution's not as great. So the military did that to save money because the chances of these guys ever needing them is pretty slim, but they wanted them to be in the aircraft. So this is, you can usually get these anywhere from like $800 to $1,200 depending on condition, age, you know, accessories. On the other hand, this is your standard PVS-14. This one comes from TMVC. This is a Omni 8. Which is made by L3, the parent company of EOTech. This is essentially the Cadillac version of something like this. It's a monocular, but it's auto-gated. It has the manual gain adjustment. So substantial increase. This is about 3 times the cost of this. But essentially the inside guts, the tube, is capable of the same, you know, basic performance, if you know, in the basic performance standpoint. So depending on budget, you know, you basically could do the same thing with either one of these, essentially.
You want to show how you would use this in conjunction with an illuminator on a weapon?
Yeah, okay. Can you hold that for me? All right, so what I have on the front of this is, a lot of people make these themselves. This is a Hoplite brand. It has an adjustable pinhole size. So they give you, I think, 3 different sizes. Essentially what happens is, when you put a day cover on a night vision optic, it has a pinhole that limits, you know, the light going into the front aperture to keep it from burning out the tube if you were to turn it on during the day. It allows you to use it during the day, but most people don't even do that. But what it also does is it gives you focus up close. If you were to have this cap open and have the focus dialed in at, say, 50 yards and above, you can engage a target at that distance. It would be nice and clear. But if you were to look down at your feet would be blurry, and the things in the you know, within the next 10 or 15 feet of you would be out of focus. What you could do, the purpose of this, or any of the scope covers that people put little pinholes in, is you flip this cap closed. It gives you just a pinhole of light in the center. That there's a lot of science behind that we could go into at a different time, but essentially the image is now focused up close. You could pull a splinter out of your finger. But what it's doing by cutting that light way down is now you're going to need some type of illumination usually. Otherwise, I mean, even on a night with a full moon and stars, it's still cutting so much of the light going into the front that the image is going to be relatively dark. So what they have on these, on a PVS-14, is they have a built-in illuminator that's on the front here in this lens. So you can turn the illuminator on when you flip the cap shut, and it'll give you enough light to see what you're doing. So if you have to clear a stoppage, apply a tourniquet, things like that, of course, whatever you're illuminating anything, it's just like a white light. It's going to give away your position to any OP4 that has similar capability. So that's very situational, dependent on whether or not you could do that. All right, so what I've got on the front here is a Steiner A3. This is a laser illuminator and laser aimer. The illuminator's on the left, and it has an adjustable focus, so you can flood it out for a larger area, or you can focus it down into a tighter beam for a brighter spot. That's done with a laser, not a LED. On the right hand side, you have what's called a slaved laser module. So if you see there's 2 apertures here. The top one is the visible green laser, and the bottom is the infrared. And so what that allows you to do is, go in daylight to a range, and you can use the green laser and zero the module, because the two lasers are coaxial or slave to each other. By zeroing the green laser, you're now zeroing the IR laser. So also got a SUREFIRE. This is a 603 Victor, so it's got the vampire head on it, meaning that it has a white light setting. You rotate the bezel to off, and then once more it goes to infrared. So you can have, if you need more flood, you can do that. I don't really run in that situation. I like to have an instant white light at the push of a button. So on the top here is SUREFIRE's double pressure switch. So essentially one wire goes into the laser, and that would be your front pressure switch, and then the back one has a bump on it to let you know that that's your visible, and that goes into the SUREFIRE. So you just move your thumb 1 inch forward or 1 inch back, and you can go from infrared to white light.
Howdy guys, Rex here, standing out here with Justin, and we're doing some training out in the desert here, run around, turn up some gear.
Sure.
Having a lot of fun, but you do some professional training out here in the Las Vegas area, and I was going to talk to you a little bit about some of the rifle training I'd offer, particularly carbines and stuff like that. What do you guys got going on with carbines?
What we like to do is we like to offer people a variety of things that they can try to make an educated purchase. I don't try to do anything that's super high speed or above and beyond everyone else, but what I try to do is educate people so that they can make the right decisions on their gear and buy once, cry once, not. Sure. I run into people all the time where they have a friend or just the guy at the local gun store told them, hey, you should buy this, that, the other thing, and a lot of times they get out there and either they don't know how to use it or it doesn't work for what they're trying to do. So not only do we offer classes on how to do things safely, but we also offer different configurations for people to try out so
Sure.
they can find out what works best for them.
So for folks who are like totally brand new and or maybe even not that expert skill level yet, you can help consult with them on specialized equipment. I know that you're kind of an expert on like night gear and comm gear and stuff like that, and peripheral equipment for carbines and stuff like that. So you've got enough experience in a diversity of training through the different guys you've worked with before in terms of learning from, military and law enforcement guys like that, to where you have a kind of a wider maybe perspective on what there is available and a wider breadth of knowledge, so that when folks who are looking for stuff for their rifle selection can come to you, and you have a pretty good idea of getting them squared away with that. And so do you let them try this stuff out, or how do you got that set up?
Essentially, for the classes that we offer for free, these are designed for people that are very, very new, may have not even purchased a firearm at all, much less something more specific like a carbine or shotgun. What we do is we run them through, of course, all the basic stuff, the safety, how to properly clean and load and unload, proper weapons handling, all the basic stuff first. But then we also allow them to choose to try out several different types. We're talking, your basic 16-inch AR-15 carbine. We put them on iron sights. We give them an option to try out, non-magnified optics, magnified optics, things like that, just so they can kind of. It's almost like shoes. I mean, you wouldn't go to a shoe store and just grab whatever shoe looked cool off the shelf, not check the size, and walk out the door.
Right.
And if you did do that, there's a chance you might get the right one.
Or test driving a car, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you got to get a feel for it sometimes.
Yeah. You
So
can't
it's kind of a community service type thing that you do with the very, very first entry-level consultation and training to just get them safe and be able to handle the weapon.
For me, you could call it like a community service, because what I think is there's a lot of people out there that don't get training there's really two reasons. Either they didn't know that firearms training exists outside of law enforcement or military, or they don't think they can afford it. And so what I want to do is I want to say, look, you have no excuse now, because it's not going to cost you anything. Mm-hmm. If you come out and you don't like it, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But I know that if they come out, they meet us, they're going to know that we know what we're talking about. And if they want to expand on stuff later, that's perfectly fine. But what I want them to do is I want them to be an asset to society, not a detriment. I want, I'm here, my family's here, my friends are here. Every person walking on the street carrying a firearm needs to know how to safely handle it. And,
Sure.
you know, to me, I don't need to charge for the things that I would just do. If I was at the range and somebody was doing something wrong, I would say, hey, look, you know, this is
Sure.
kind of dangerous. Let me show you how to do it safely.
So you're opening yourself up to help out strangers and folks who want to get a little help on that. And we'll put the contact information at the bottom of this video, how to get a hold of you if you're in the Southwest region and you want to get some firearms training in. I know that we're putting together a couple classes too of some more advanced stuff, and a lot of those will be eligible to be a prerequisite class for some of the DMR classes that we're putting on. And so want to explain a little bit of the couple of the different class templates you have set up for the other stuff that you're going to train with carbines.
So essentially, we have a setup of where if someone comes to us and says, hey, I want to do more advanced things, they can obviously show us credentials that can prove that they've had adequate training. Or if they're like me, for the first couple decades of my life, I was more afraid of the political backlash. So much of the stuff that I was trained on, there was no record of, because I was more worried about lawsuits and that kind of stuff, liability. For us, we have a setup where they could come in, they could say, look, I want to do, say, a Carbine 2 or more advanced, or I want to go into DMR kind of stuff. We set them up with non-lethal means to demonstrate their muzzle discipline, their ability to reholster properly, do mag changes without risking anybody. It's sort of just a vetting process, basically. Because people, a lot of times, they don't know if they've got issues, you know, and it sometimes just takes someone standing there saying, hey, you know, you're doing this right, but let's try.
Or maybe
and change
even
this.
they don't have like any serious issues, but they can just use some refinement and direction and add to the skill sets they already have too.
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of good shooters out there, and one common point you'll find with good shooters is they're not scared to learn that stuff or learn additional skill sets, right?
Yeah.
So even for those guys who are well-seasoned guys who train all the time, I think that you have a lot to offer, especially in terms of some of the night vision stuff that you have to offer. You want to explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, so night vision is a whole different ballgame because the price of entry, of course, is very expensive. It adds 10 million times the complication to your rifle or your pistol setup and your gear in general. Because it's so expensive, that's definitely something you want to offer someone to try certain things out first if they can before they buy it. But of course, it's also more dangerous because now you've got limited field of view. You've got a monochromatic vision. You've got you can't see the up close when you, without getting into too much detail. Basically, night vision is fixed focus, so you have to manually adjust what distance you want in focus. So if you've got your night vision adjusted to say 50 yards or beyond, when you look down at your feet, they're going to be blurry, and so is the terrain. So if you got people who want to learn these kind of things, but they got to make sure that they know enough to where
they really need someone
safe.
to walk them through the paces initially, because it is a completely different animal to get equipped like that and to get it properly set up and to not damage it and to use it most effectively. So just getting the weapons set up, just that alone is a whole informal course by itself, let alone running it properly and then using it in a real world environment. Yeah,
and it's just more, for me, it's important for people to realize that it's not what it looks like on television and in the movies. You know, there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of problems with wives' tales and other things like that, and it's a very expensive thing to learn the hard way. So this is something we can show people, let them see if they're, if it's for them before they get into, you're talking, it's a standard PVS-14 is $3,000 just for the monocular itself, so not including all the rest of the stuff that goes with it.
Okay, so if folks have any questions about night vision gear or any other equipment consultation or training consultation, where do they reach out to get in touch with you?
Our website has our phone number as well on it. There's an email link there. They can email or call, whichever one they prefer. It's up to them.
Okay, rock and roll, man. Thanks for having us out.
Appreciate you.
It was fun to hang out.
Yeah, for sure.
hit.
Stupid easy, bro.
On the right hand side you have a what's called a slave laser module. So if you see one there's two apertures here. Make these themselves. This is a Hoplite brand. It has an adjustable pinhole side.
You really thought you'd get away with it, big guy?
You got it. Alpha 9 or Tango 1-3, this is Pirate Lizard King.
Indexing hasty solution for 7.
What in the hell are you holding?
It's not sure. It's an MP49, it's a saw.
Target's got good cover. Look for danger space for a headshot at TRP-5.
Hi, Mom. It's me and my pals. Say hi, guys.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man.
You're shorter than I expected.
These are super.